All right. So the WNBA shared the following update after Sky versus Fever. It shared like my other orders, like my eBay orders and shit. The Sky's Kennedy Carter has now been assessed a flagrant 1 after league review. Angel Reese has been fined $1,000 for failing to make herself available to media after the game. And the Chicago Sky have been fined $5,000 for failing to ensure all players comply with league media policies. So this is news because it obviously looks like they're protecting Caitlin Clark, right? I will say this, though. There's no way that Angel Reese, the person that likes to trash talk, all of a sudden isn't going to show up to a press conference. You got to show up when you win, and you got to show up when you lose. You can't. I just said this shit about Karl Anthony Towns the other day when they lost to in like fucking game 5 or whatever. Like, you can't do that shit. You can't be, oh, happy day, come praise me, come in. Like, I show up to the press conference, everybody has to tell me compliments and tell me how amazing I was. And then when I play poorly and we lose to my rival, I don't show up. That's stupid. However, I think the deeper part is the WNBA is making a change to the way the game is played in real time. And it is because of Caitlin Clark. The reality is the WNBA is probably more physical than the NBA right now. And that's a problem. No one wants to see 67 to 68 scores. I'm so sorry. Right? So we need to open the game up. Right? And there's gonna be some pushback. It's this we saw this in the NBA. But they're gonna have to slowly loosen the game up, slowly change the rules so the game can be more open. You could blame Caitlin Clark all you want. The same shit happened in the NBA. And look, all NBA games it was the most sold out games in the NBA this past season. Everyone can say what they want. I'm sure the ratings are up if you take everything into account. Yes, yeah, they need to show up to the press conferences. 100%. 100%. Oh yeah, 100%. Just like the Magic. And they got to start making commercials and shit and content with these people. Like Sabrina with Clark. Angel Reese with Aja Wilson. Like, they got to start doing this. And bro, the other thing where's the shit, bro? I saw this earlier too. And let's see.
Anybody as you navigate your being.
Okay, being black.
Hold on 1 second.
Hey.
Around the way that it's being discussed. When you right, no. And yes, Shannon, I know y'all are gonna say and Stephen A, I know you just shared that you have talked about the WNBA on your program too. You guys may not have said everybody, but the prevailing sentiment for folks that are just joining the WNBA and following women's sports is unfair to the women of this league, to your point, who have laid the groundwork for Caitlin Clark to come in and now take it to the next level. That's all I'm saying in these conversations. Kennedy Carter's behavior is not indicative of the entire league. We are still talking about competition where you are allowed to get a little extra elbow in if you are competing and you do it within the parameters of the game. The game is physical. Caitlin is helping to grow the league. These women understand that, but she cannot be babied as a rookie. That's all I'm at.
All right.
Who talks about the WNBA? Who talks about women? Who talk about women's sports more than First Take?
Stephen A, respectfully, with your platform, you could have been doing this 3 years ago if you wanted to.
Wow.
All right, we gotta go. You guys.
So did you say
you're my guy, but
who does?
You know you my guy, but
I'm talking to you.
Wow.
Don't do that. I'm talking to you about the power that you have.
Okay.
I'm talking to you.
Like, What she missing is 3 years ago there was no Caitlin Clark. Like, what do we? And I thought I was tripping about this shit, right? So I had to go ask my girl. I had to ask our friend Shayna. I had to ask them and get like a women's perspective, because I was like, am I tripping for feeling like you can't have it both ways? You can't say, oh, you can't watch, like, you can't say, oh, nobody's been watching our fucking game all these years. Like, y'all not supporting us. We not getting no money. We need more money, blah, 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 blah. And then when you finally get the viewership and the influx of casual viewers, you're saying, oh, well, you weren't talking about us before. You have no right to have an opinion. You can't blah, 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 blah. Oh, you can't highlight Caitlin Clark whenever every chance you get, even though she's the reason they have all these charter flights and all these viewers. You can't have it both ways. You can't complain you didn't have the viewership, and then when the viewership comes, complain about the viewership. The fuck are we talking about? Like, it is what it is. Like, I understand the WNBA players that have this stance because they're competing with these people. But at some point, you got to say, well, fuck it. The views are coming in. Like, it happened at some point. Like, people got to have this mentality where the work that you do today, especially in situations like this, you will never get the benefits out of it the same way the people in the future will. Like, you're never gonna get that same dollar amount. You think all those motherfucking players in the 60s, 70s, and 80s wish their parents had a baby 30 years later? Yeah, but that's not how shit works. We're seeing NBA players now laughing about it. Like, yo, I could have just, a couple years later, like, I could have made $200 million. Like, yeah, and honestly, I do think too, Richard, that a lot of people are just making, like, kind of like with the NBA, they're just talking just for content, just to have some shit to talk about. And they're creating this narrative so that there is a villain, so that there are two sides of something that are clashing, even though there really isn't. Right? It's always a quiet minority that has these opinions, and it's like, bro, we've seen this shit before. Like, we've seen how this works, we've seen how this works when you have a polarizing popular athlete come into the scene, and now everyone benefits as a result of it. Everyone doesn't all of a sudden have to suck that person's dick, but we also can't sit around and pretend like it's not happening.